Is it sad that it is taking this to get my ass back out there? Yes. Am I surprised? Not one fucking bit. Hi, my name is Shannon, and if you have somehow stumbled upon my channel, welcome and thank you so much for being here. And welcome as well to my first ever TBR. Not just on this channel, but also for my experience as a reader overall. My TBR list, up until this point, has remained an elusive force. It seems to be constantly shifting and changing and also growing larger and larger, seemingly without my knowledge, and just seems to be something that I've never been able to fully grasp nor manage in a way that I would like. Once in a blue moon, I would actually sit down and go through my TBR list and pick something off of it to read, but more often than not, I would just fall prey to whatever flashy new thing popped up on my YouTube or Instagram feed. So there was no rhyme or reason to my choices, just pure chaos. And yet, somehow, amidst that chaos, I found myself so bored and just tired because it felt like all the books that I was reading started to blend together in these like super predictable patterns in my head. The characters were starting to blend together, storylines. Yeah, I really felt like I was just reading the same thing over and over again. And so lo and behold, I fell into a slump. I despise reading slumps. One, because I feel like I am truly at my happiest and most fulfilled version of myself when I'm reading. I also feel like during these reading slumps, my free time gets dedicated to scrolling, and it's like I look into a mirror and I can see a reflection of my deteriorating attention span staring right back at me, and that is just an awful feeling. So yes, I fell into a reading slump. I have been in a reading slump for the past few months. The only books that I have been reading / listening to have been audiobooks. I've gotten into running recently, and so I've just been listening to all of these audiobooks on my run, and it's actually been a really good time. Anyways, a few weeks ago, after being in this reading slump for a few months and getting really tired of it, I started to ask myself some questions. I asked myself, when exactly was the last time that I felt for a book? When was the last time that I really challenged myself when it came to reading? And when was the last time that I stepped beyond the genres of fantasy and romance? Spoiler alert, it's been a minute. My answer to all of these questions was essentially to make this video. I figured what better way to force myself out of my reading slump and to hopefully feel something for a book again, to challenge myself in some way, and to break away from the romance and fantasy genres, than to make a promise to myself on the internet as like the ultimate form of accountability. Is it sad that it is taking this to get my ass back out there? Yes. Am I surprised? Not one fucking bit. This is going to be the first time ever that I am setting a goal for myself and also setting up a specific list of books to be reading. I am trying to set myself up for success and kind of starting off small with the month of June. We are going to be keeping things pretty reasonable. 6 books. 6 books in genres that are for the most part not in my usual sandbox, if you will. And you are going to be helping to hold me accountable. I am also happy to say that 4 of these books I have thrifted recently. The thrift gods in the past few months have been on my side. I also just want to say before we get started that I am actively looking for recommendations for books from a variety of different genres, whether that be nonfiction even, historical fiction, literary fiction, crime, thriller, horror, mystery, science fiction, and even fantasy that's not romantasy, because I just feel like I need a break from that genre for a while. That being said, the first book on our list, The Power of Now. I have never finished a quote-unquote self-help book all the way through, ever. I have tried quite a few times. It's just never happened for me. I've had this book on my shelves. I forget, I think a friend gave it to me like years ago, and I just never reached for it. I think I had tried to read a few other self-help books in that same time period, and I just didn't enjoy them. I never reached for this one after that point, but I've heard such good things about this book, and I feel like it's going to be really impactful for where I am currently, just in my state of life and the journey that I'm on. Quite a few friends that read self-help books pretty frequently have recommended this book to me, and I value their opinion. So I have high hopes for this book, and honestly, that's on me for not giving it a shot earlier. I plan on making a video where I read another 4 self-help books after that, so 5 in total, and then kind of review them and share my opinions on them, especially coming from a reader who has really only stuck to romance and fantasy for like the past decade or so. So yeah, if you stick around with me on this channel, you can look forward to seeing that. Or is it something to look forward to? Who knows? We'll find out. But I really am going to try to take the lessons in this book to heart and learn from it. So yeah, that is the first book on our list. Next up, we have the Wind Up Bird Chronicle. So this is another book that I have had on my shelves for what seems like forever. And I did give it a shot 4 years ago, I want to say, but for some reason I just couldn't get into it. I mean, I guess that's kind of a good thing because I really remember nothing from what I read, so I'm basically starting from scratch. I have heard so much about Murakami as an author, and I feel like so many of his books have become so popular to the point where I could name quite a few of them, even though I've never really read him before. So many of my friends and then also strangers on the internet have recommended his books, and so I am really looking forward to them. Reddit tells me that this book specifically contemplates kind of what reality and identity is, and also the Chicago Tribune says that it is dreamlike and compelling. So yeah, I am intrigued. This is also going to be my first book that was originally written in Japanese. I cannot wait. Next up, we have Lessons in Chemistry. So this is another book that I feel like I have seen everywhere. It is also one of my thrift store finds from my haul from last week. It was $1.91. God, my favorite thrift store of all time is in Orange County, and their prices are fantastic. And every time I go there, I walk away with like no less than 15 items because the stuff that they have is just that good. Anyways, I have seen this book talked about so much on the internet. I know that there was a show that was created based on it. And also Jack Edwards posted a video that I only just watched a few days ago, kind of showing the original UK cover for this book. And I have to agree, I prefer it so much more than this one. I think it's kind of sad that this specific style of cover is being used so frequently to the point where it's become overdone because it is just the style of cover that sells these days. And especially when it comes to covers like these, I know that it might have some romance in this book. I'm not entirely too sure. But yeah, it's not marketed as a romance book, but I feel like with a lot of romance books that use this style of cover, they're all just starting to blend together in my head right now. I just feel like there's such a lack of individuality, and it's making it really hard for me to kind of, I don't know, sift through and pick out the books that I think I will really enjoy rather than picking out books that are going to end up being really bland and mild 3 or even 2-star reads for me. Don't even get me started on the romantasy genre right now. Like, what is up? I feel like I have seen so many titles that go along with the format of a blank of blank and blank. Like, there are only so many edgy words that can be used in those formats, and they're just becoming really overdone. Why do I feel like I've seen so many books that have been titled like a Symphony of Dusk and Dawn, or a Cave of Might and Terror, a Kingdom of Ice and Darkness, stuff along those lines. Yeah, it's just gotten really overdone. Anyways, back to this book. I have come to realize that I really enjoy books that feature women in STEM. I say that, but I feel like my only real experience of books with women in STEM has been Ali Hazelwood so far. I do have my issues with her, but I feel like I've really come to enjoy just kind of like that setting and that vibe in general. Really looking forward to this book. I have very high hopes and high expectations. Just even looking at the back here, I mean, Stephen King says it's witty and sometimes hilarious. The catch-22 of early feminism. That's some big words, Mr. King. Hopefully, and I have a very strong feeling that I'm going to end up liking this book because I would really like to check out the TV series adaptation as well, and then maybe do a little bit of comparing and contrasting the two. The Da Vinci Code. This is another one from my thrift haul from last week. It was also $1.91. I mean, just like, come on, you really cannot beat that price. And it's in such good condition. This is probably the book that I feel like I am most embarrassed to admit that I have never read before. But then again, I mean, I also don't really give a shit because read what you want. I mean, life's too short, right? The Da Vinci Code, I feel like, has become a staple in the reading community. Whether people have loved it or hated it, it has become a classic in its own right. The friend that I was shopping with at the time when I bought it saw it, said that he really liked it, and so yeah, it just kind of felt like fate. I mean, I've been meaning to give it a shot at some point amidst my romance novels. That might be a lie. I have never read Dan Brown before, and even though I feel like I have essentially grown up hearing about this book and hearing about the movie adaptation, right? There's a movie adaptation. Also have not seen that. Even despite the fact that I feel like I've grown up hearing about this book and about Dan Brown, I have absolutely no idea what to expect when it comes to his writing, his pacing, his storytelling, etc. I will say though, I expect to be mentally stimulated in some way, shape, or form. For some reason, I have like this preconceived preconceived notion in my head that reading this book is going to make me like a smarter person. If I walk away from reading this book and I don't feel like I've become smarter as a person at least a little bit, not gonna lie, I might just be a little bit disappointed. But also, I feel like I only really have 2 last functioning brain cells left, and yeah, Janet and Isabel, I don't really know if there's too much helping them, so we shall see. We are moving right along. Next up, we have the Book of Ivy. Now, I feel like after the Da Vinci Code, I just have a feeling that I'm going to need a bit of a breather. Something light, something fun and quick. Hopefully, this will be just exactly what I need. This is another thrift store find. I am going to kind of be cheating a little bit. I know I have talked a lot about wanting to branch off from romance, and this is supposed to be a romance book, but it's also a YA dystopian novel, which is a genre that I have not touched in years. So I feel like in that sense, it's gonna be okay. I will allow it. I feel like the first 4 books on my TBR for June have been books that I have heard so much about, or that I feel like I've known about for a really long time. I have no idea what to expect from this book. I've never heard of this author before. I've never heard of this series. I think there's 2 books. I'm actually not too sure. This might be just a standalone. Whatever. I have never heard of this book before. I didn't even let myself go on Goodreads to look this book up because I really wanted to go in blind and not let any reviews kind of mar my opinions on it before I even started. And also because it's from 2014 and I just feel like the landscape of books has kind of changed a lot since then in a way. I just didn't want any preconceived notions to exist for this book for me. The Book of Ivy is a dystopian novel that takes place in the United States. 50 years ago, the US went through an extremely brutal nuclear war, and in the aftermath of this war, families were fighting over who would gain control of the US. In the 50 years since, every year, the winning family marries off one of their sons to a daughter from the losing side. And here comes our main protagonist. You may be guessing where this is going. She is a daughter from the losing side who is set to marry a son from the winning side, and her goal is to kill him. But of course, and I'm assuming that she ends up falling for him because he ends up not being this horrible dude that her family has made him out to be. Honestly, I am a freaking sucker for these kinds of books where, you know, it's like the girl's mission to go in and kill the guy and then they end up falling in love. I don't know, something about it just really gets me going. I really enjoyed To Kill a Kingdom. That was a fun one. And then also the Bridge Kingdom, book 1 at least. I really wasn't a fan of book 2. As I said, I really have no idea what to expect, know nothing about the book besides its synopsis, know nothing about the author. It sounds like a fun read and hopefully will be a really good kind of like palette cleanser after the Da Vinci Code. Last but hopefully not least, we have Wrong Place, Wrong Time. This is another book from my thrift haul. The cover really got me for this one. I don't know, it's just, that's a solid cover right there. So I was interested in this book from the get-go because of the cover, but what really got me intrigued about this book is that the synopsis is written in second person point of view. I feel like my only experience reading second person point of view has been Naruto fanfiction in the past. So I've never read a full book that was written in that point of view. Just imagine my disappointment when I opened the book to check and it is in fact not written in second person point of view. I feel like I was baited a little bit. I feel like that was a little bit of a tease. Anyways, once I moved past that slight disappointment, I actually went back and fully digested the synopsis, and then I was intrigued all over again. It sounds like a really interesting read. Evidently, this book is about a mother who is waiting up late at night for her 18-year-old son to come home. She's really worried about him. She finally sees him outside turning a corner, but then he goes and stabs and kills this random stranger on the streets. And so she is, of course, just like absolutely distraught at this happening. Her son is taken into custody and she goes to sleep that night and then wakes up the next morning and it is before the murder ever happened. So this kind of turns into a pattern. Every day she wakes up and she is further and further into the past before her son ever murdered this guy. At first, I believe she only wakes up a few days into the past, but then as the days continue, she wakes up at some point like years into the past. She is just trying to kind of uncover the reasoning behind her son doing this and committing this crime, and also tries to stop it. I did end up looking this book up online, and apparently it was a nominee for the 2022 Goodreads Choice Awards Mystery and Thriller genre. I'm not entirely too sure yet what to think about that, just because my first kind of venture into mystery and thriller after so many years of not touching it was the winner of last year's Goodreads Choice Awards, The God of the Woods, which I really didn't like too much. So I'm not too sure how much faith I really have in the Goodreads Choice Awards right now, but we shall see. I'm going to keep an open mind as I am with all of these books. And that is a wrap. Thank you so much for watching. As I mentioned before, I really am looking for recommendations for books from essentially any genre besides romance at this point. So if you have anything to share, I would love to hear, and I would love to add them to my future TBR videos as well. And I would also really like to hear your opinions on these books that I'm about to read. Do you like them? Do you hate them? Did they make an impact on you? When it comes to these 6 books on my TBR, I mean, who knows? Will some of them end up back in the thrift store after this month? Will I actually succeed in finishing a self-help book for once in my life? Will the Da Vinci Code succeed in making me a smarter person? A feat that some might say has been forsaken by all? We are going to find out, so stay tuned. If you like this video and you want to see more like it in the future, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and yeah, I will see you next time. But until then, take care and goodbye for now.